Frosty by CJ Quinn. The shimmering pink glow filled the sky as the sun mixed with the army of snowflakes that descended from the heavens above like precious diamonds from the sky, fluttering down as they settled, merging on the earth below, enveloping the town into a white blanket of majestic wonder, drenching it in Christmas festivities. The buildings, drowned in white, glistened with the colorful lights hanging from window to window, decorations lining up the streets. The flashes of reds, greens, and blues lined the windows. Images of Santa, presents, gingerbread men, sleighs, and reindeers look out over the glossy streets. The smell of hot chocolate and cookies filtered through the air as they drifted up the street until finally settling on the town square, where he stood tall. His towering figure glistened as the dying embers of sunlight brought a glimmer to the mounds of snowfall that had morphed together, bringing life to his sculpted structure. The marble sunk into his hollowed, snowy skull as the emerald green brought a glow to his gaze. The perfectly carved orange molded into the center of his face, shaping his character as the sculpted smile beamed wide for all to see. His tightly knit scarf wrapped around his bulging neck as it dangled down his frozen torso. Two bulging branches, with intricate shaped fingers, protruded from either side. His impressive figure stood near 6 foot tall, sturdy and compact as it gazed out to the growing crowd and his creator. And now for the final 2 contestants. Please take your place in front of the snowmen, the announcer bellowed down the mic, blaring across the town square. The annual snowman competition had boiled down to the final 2. Cody gazed at his competition, a respectable challenge in Ricky as his snowman matched his for his effort. But for detail, for character, for power, there was surely no competition. All the snowmen before that had entered the competition now vanquished to these final 2. The architect stood next to their designs. Cody looked on with bated breath. Surely, it was time for his creation to be victorious. As the votes creeped in, silence began to fall across the crowds, and the judges determined the final vote and sealed their fate. One snowman would stand tall and victorious. The other, like the rest, would fall in defeat. The votes are finally in, ladies and gentlemen, and this year, wow, we have had some competition. But there can only be one winner, and one Lincoln Holiday Snowman of 2023. And without further ado, your winner of the Snowman Holiday mascot and new champion with his monstrous creation Frosty is Cody Elliott. Cody's heart began to race as a surge of excitement coursed through his body as he looked out into the cheering crowd. He couldn't believe it. He had finally won with his powder-sculpted Titan. The final challenger's snowman being knocked down, falling victim just like the others to Frosty, the town's new holiday mascot, where he would stand tall in the town center for the rest of the night before being featured at the town's Christmas parade for all to see. The announcer ushered to Cody to come and accept his award. As he rose to accept his trophy, the announcer embraced him in a bear hug before raising his hand. As the losing contestant, Ricky clapped for him, a disappointed smile plastered across his face. Unable to hide the jealousy that burned inside him as he stormed off, not wanting to watch anymore. Well done, Cody. Your snowman will now go down in the record books, becoming a part of the town's annual parade. How are you feeling? The announcer questioned as he hovered the mic under Cody's chin. Amazing. I just want to thank all of you for voting and making this possible. Working on this project was hard work, but it paid off, and to be able to share my finished work with you is great, let alone having it feature in the parade. So thank you again, and here's to Frosty, Cody shouted as chorus of claps and cheers followed. Yes, Frosty will stay here for tonight before being carefully stored for the parade tomorrow. Again, congratulations, son. Go and celebrate, and we'll see you for the parade tomorrow. The announcer said, shaking Cody's hand as he turned to the crowds closing the show. A proud smile graced Cody's face as he looked up to the mound that was Frosty one more time, proud of his work, taking in his creation one more time, before leaving the stage to celebrate with his ecstatic friends. "See, I told you. You had this, didn't I?" an ecstatic Dwayne said as he patted Cody on the back. "Yeah, you killed it. There was no way anyone was beating you with their designs. I mean, look at him," Ava said as she embraced Cody in a tight hug. "We fucking did it! Yes, can you believe it?" Cody beamed with joy. "Let's go celebrate," he said, as the three walked off, buzzing with excitement, joining the exodus of people leaving as the competition wrapped up. The sky fading to a dark, wintry blue, as the sun slowly descended as darkness began to consume the atmosphere as nightfall arrived. The sounds of the crowds disappeared into the growing night as silence fell, leaving behind the triumphant frozen figure that was Frosty in all his glory. Before the lights went out, the green glimmer of his eyes falling to darkness as the spotlight that bathed him disappeared, leaving him behind in the cold chill of the night. The stars glimmered in the sky above as the town of Lincoln settled in for the night. The winds began to pick up as they swirled towards the town center, where Frosty stood firm, his lifeless gaze staring into the distance as his scarf began to flicker in the growing winds. The sky began to swirl, clouds began to form as if a storm was brewing. The glimmer of purple and blue filtered through the sky, as if something lay in wait, concealed behind the forming clouds. The winds suddenly stopped. All sound departed the atmosphere, as if the town was somehow put on mute, and just as the eerie silence could be felt, the lightning-fast bursts of purple and blue bubbled like a cauldron in the clouds, when suddenly, as if a hand reaching down from the bleeding clouds, a sudden beam of bright blue light plunged through the icy sky above, as it came crashing down, engulfing the snowman below, circling Frosty with its glowing aura. The beam, silent but powerful, and in the same instant as it had arrived, it vanished, leaving in its wake darkness and a vacant center. The snowman was gone. Where he once stood tall, now lay only the crisp glowing circle of crystal blue symbols that embedded themselves in the snow of where he once stood. The frost filled the air as a fresh chill filtered through the unbeknownst town. The clouds grew through the chilling night sky as two hooded figures hurriedly made their way towards the town center. "We shouldn't be doing this, Ricky. What if someone sees us?" a concerned voice mumbled. Who's going to see us? "Look around, there's no one in sight. Stop being a pussy," Ricky said in an irritated tone. "I don't know how that little punk beat me, but after tonight there'll be no holiday snowman at the parade," he said with intent, whilst twisting the wooden bat held firm in his grasp. "Listen, we'll be gone before you know it. A few swings, take down that fucker's snowman and..." Ricky's words disappearing as he stopped mid-sentence, looking confused as they reached their destination. "Where is it?" he said in a confused voice. "I don't know, man, but let's just go. Maybe they already moved it," Paul said in the same concerned tone. "Wait. What is that?" Ricky said as he pointed over towards the glowing blue embers that emitted from the snowy surface in the distance. As they both slowly approached, both sets of eyes studied the mysterious glow with intrigue, but they were suddenly stopped in their tracks, as the ground that lay in front suddenly lit up as another beam of light crashed down from the sky above, delving into the snowy ground below. Its glowing, veiny blue aura flashed vigorously, as the sheer power of the beam and its impact sent both Ricky and Paul flying back as they crashed into the snow, looking up in amazement at the beam lighting up the skyline for a split second, before disappearing altogether, fading back into darkness. The clouds above shifted as moonlight managed to break through, bringing a somewhat dim glow to the area, as the staggered, hollow breaths of Ricky and Paul broke the silence, as the condensation seeped from between their lips. A cloud of black smoke lay in the wake of the beam as it travelled up through the air, as if trying to climb back up into the beam's grasp. The smoke began to clear, and to the surprise of Ricky and Paul, their eyes fell upon the shadow of a large figure that lay in waiting, masked behind the smoke. A set of green eyes appeared to glow, emerging from its lair. As the black smoke settled, the figure moved forward, releasing itself from the blue glowing circle that radiated beneath it. The look of horror consumed the faces of Ricky and Paul as they finally saw what stood in front of them. The green glowing eyes stared down at them. Its jaw was clamped together as it slowly rocked, revealing a mouthful of pointed iced teeth as sharp as knives. It reopened its powdered white jaw, getting used to its newfound ability to move. Its frozen, bulging torso moved up and down, as if breathing. It slowly twisted its frozen head as it studied the robust branches that now had life as they flexed, getting used to their new ability, the wooden pincer-like fingers curling into fisted balls as they opened and closed, learning how to be used. The green eyes, finishing their inspection, soon found their gaze staring back at Ricky and Paul, who froze to the spot, unable to comprehend what they were seeing, stared back in fear. The abomination that stood tall in front of them was Frosty, and he was very much alive. His glowing eyes frowned as his frozen smile was filled with sinister intent, his face filled with a ravenous hunger. "What the fuck?" Ricky's shaky voice murmured as he scrambled to his feet, having seen enough of the nightmare. He pulled as the shocked Paul, trying to drag him to his feet. "Come on, run!" he shouted as he wasted no more time hanging around. Paul, delayed, finally broke from his fear-induced state, clambering to his feet as he began to run. But with only a few steps taken, a rapturous scream erupted from his mouth. Ricky turned to see his friend, kneeling on the ground as he tried to climb to his feet, blood seeping from his right thigh as a sharp icicle had pierced through his flesh. Falling back to his knees, he screamed in agony. Ricky, momentarily heading back, froze as he saw the glowing green eyes appear right behind Paul. The fear in Paul's eyes looked back at Ricky as he began to scream. The sharp, wooden hands of Frosty clamped around his skull, digging deep into his flesh. His eyes widened as if about to pop out of his skull as blood began to seep down his face. The sound of cracking began to erupt, followed by screams of agony as Paul's head began to rip open, splitting in two, the skin peeling from his skull as it tore in half, his eye falling from its socket as blood sprayed everywhere. His screams faded as his lifeless body and mangled head crashed to the blood-soaked snow beneath. Ricky's pale face, drained of all its color, looked on in terror as he witnessed the terrifying monstrosity of Frosty. Not wanting to befall the same fate, he turned, running for his life. The menacing figure loomed over the lifeless carcass before him as his glowing green eyes surveyed the town that lay ahead. The sound of laughter and chatter echoed in the distance as the door to a bar swung open, bringing light to the snowy street. A hooded figure leapt to the snow, followed by two more as laughter accompanied the trio. Cody pulled down his hood as he turned, facing Dwayne and Ava as they stood in the snowy street. He raised a bottle of beer into the air, as did the others. "Here's to a good night, and here's to Frosty slaying at the parade tomorrow," Cody cheered as they all clinked their bottles and downed their beers. "Oh, that's me done for tonight," Cody says, as they all started walking up the quiet street, leaving the bustling bar behind. "No, one more drink, come on man, it's still early. Plus I may have a little something extra," Dwayne smirked. "Oh yeah, what's that?" Ava questioned with curiosity. "Come on, you both know," Dwayne smiled as he opened his jacket, pulling out a joint. Cody stopped as he stared at Dwayne's grinning face. "Ah, fuck it, I'm in," he conceded with a smile. "Whose house we going to then?" Ava asked as she stole the joint from Dwayne's hand, walking off into the distance. Cody and Dwayne followed, discussing whose place to crash at, when Ava turned to them. "Let's go back to Frosty. Smoke it up there with him. Spend your last night with him before he's used in the parade tomorrow," she said with excitement. "You just don't want to go home," Dwayne smirked. "Who wants to go home and sit inside bored?" she replied. Cody smiled. "Yeah, let's do it. Why not?" he said, as they all turned, heading up towards the town centre. The cold night air brushed across their rosed cheeks as they all walked, laughing and joking as they continued the night's festivities. Dwayne trying to light the joint as they walked. "Just wait until we get there," Ava said, laughing at Dwayne. Cody stopped in his tracks as he held his arm out in front of the others. "Shush, can you hear that?" he said, as they all fell silent, listening for what Cody picked up. The silence of the night was broken by the distant scream of a voice. "Help me! He's alive!" The voice echoed through the air. Cody squinted as his eyes were met with a figure ahead, stumbling down the hill. Is that Ricky?" he questioned, as the three looked on intrigued as to who it was. The figure slowly became clearer, as it indeed was Ricky heading towards them. A green glow closely followed behind him, as another figure emerged, gaining on him. "Dude, ain't that your snowman?" Dwayne said, in a confused voice. Cody and Ava both looking round at him. "How the fuck is that going to be a snowman?" "How much of that have you smoked?" Cody laughed. Ava looked into the distance, as her eyes widened. "No, seriously, look," she said, grabbing Cody's arm and pointing. The gaining figure towered over Ricky, as it crawled towards him. "He's alive! Help me! Help me!" Ricky's sentence cut off as he fell to the floor meters from Cody and the others. The look of disbelief on their faces, as towering over Ricky, even as impossible as it sounded to them, stood Frosty. His bulky branched arm reached down as it picked Ricky up by the neck like a ragdoll, his glowing green eyes staring directly at the group as his frozen smile grew. The monstrous figure turned its powdery head as it looked back at a trembling Ricky. Its other branched arm slowly reached up to its own face, as its pincered fingers wrapped around the pointed frozen orange carrot that molded into its face. It pulled it out as it held it aloft in front of Ricky, shaped like a frozen pointed dagger. He slowly aimed it towards Ricky's eye. "No! No!" Ricky screamed, as the point finally met his pupil, as it grazed across his eyeball, scratching the lens before being plunged through Ricky's eye. As it burst, a mixture of blood and liquid oozed from his eye as his painful screams echoed into the night, before being cut short as the carrot broke through the back of his skull. His lifeless body tossed aside as Frosty reattached his now blood-soaked nose, turning and staring at the others. Shock consumed them all at what they just witnessed. Cody in disbelief at what he saw standing in front of him. His creation, living and breathing. Not the friendly snowman you would envision, but a monstrous killer. As they stood watching on, Frosty slowly began to make his way towards them, Ava screaming, as they all turned running in fear. The blood-soaked snowman watched their every move as they bolted down the street. The bar door ripped open as the warm Christmas festivities raged on inside, Dwayne, Ava and Cody slamming the door shut behind them as the two looked out the window. Cody blocking the door turned as silence fell. All the onlookers' eyes were on them. "What the hell are you doing?" the bartender questioned. Cody's eyes scanned across all the faces that stared back at them. He looked at Ava and Dwayne as they stared back at him, sweat dripping down his temple, the words on the tip of his tongue, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. "My snowman, Frosty, he's alive," he finally blurted out. Silence filled the room as everyone stared back at them. "You're saying your snowman that you built is alive?" the bartender questioned, confused. "Yes, and he's just killed someone," Cody blurted. The faces around the bar started looking at each other as rapturous laughter bellowed around the room. "Frosty slashing through the snow," a punter heckled, raising a laugh. "Good one, Cody. Funny, how much you had to drink?" "No more for you," the bartender laughed. No, he's telling the truth," Ava cried as tears rolled down her face. "He's out there right now," she screamed, looking out the window. The cold, dark street lifeless, with not a soul in sight. Cody rested his back up against the door, catching his breath. "Look, I don't know what you guys have been smoking out there, but that's enough now," the bartender said. "Look, I'm not making this up. You have to The sound of smashing glass cut Cody off mid-sentence, as a branched arm broke through the window panel of the door, wrapping itself around Cody's throat. As Ava screamed, the onlookers staring in shock, as two glowing green eyes appeared on the other side of the door behind Cody. Screams soon echoed around the bar, as the punters soon realized what it was. As they rushed to help Cody, he wrestled to get free. A group began pulling at his arms as a beastly snowman tried to pull him through the door. "Move! Move!" a voice boomed. As everyone turned, the bartender stood, shotgun in hand as he aimed it through the window at the snowman's head. "Duck, Cody," he bellowed. With all his might, Cody broke free from the grasp of the snowman, throwing himself to the ground as an almighty bang reverberated around the room. As the shotgun fired through the door panel, blasting the snowman square in his powdery face, as it fell back out of sight. The bartender kicked the door wide open as they looked out into the snowy street. Frosty, slowly rising to his feet with half his face missing. Another shotgun blast to the torso sent the snowman crashing to the ground beneath him, as green, blood-like substance began to ooze from the torso. Cody stepping into the street behind the bartender. "What the hell is that?" he questioned. "No fucking idea." As the crowd from the bar gathered into the street, they all leapt back in shock as the snowman again began to rise. "You know how to kill a snowman," the bartender said. Cody looked at him as he lifted a bottle. "You turn up the heat," he said, as he shoved a cloth into a Scotch whiskey bottle, lighting the end as he threw it at the snowman, the snow instantly beginning to crumble away as it melted. The sound of a mysterious scream roared from within the snowman as its body melted away, emerald green eyes dying as the razored teeth fell from his melting jaw, his flaming arms falling from his dripping torso. Frosty melted to the ground in a steaming pile of slush as the last of the flames faded away. "What the hell is that?" Cody said in a stunned tone. The pair looked down to where the slushy remains of the snowman gathered, as a grey, scaly-like figure could be seen, lying beneath the slush ruins, the green substance seeping from the grey-like skin. "Is that some kind of creature?" Cody asked, as himself and the others stood next to the bartender, studying the mysterious remains in front of them. "I've never seen anything like that before," the bartender said in a confused tone. Suddenly, the familiar sight of purple and blue strips of light filtered through the sky as the clouds above swirled. The bitterly cold wind stopped as all sound departed the atmosphere, sending the town into silence as everyone looked into the shape-shifting sky above. The lightning-fast bursts of purple and blue bubbled away as they came crashing through the clouds, merging into one bright beam of blue light as it plunged through the icy sky above, crashing down into the snowy surface below. Everyone stared, mesmerized in awe at the palette of colors that seeped into the snowy earth, before once again disappearing as fast as it arrived, leaving behind total darkness as clouds of black smoke filtered from the ice-scorched earth below. Was that? "Don't say it," the bartender cut off Cody, knowing full well what he was going to say. Everyone stared in silence. Amongst the clouds of evaporating smoke, multiple figures could be seen emerging from the darkness. The more they looked, the more figures they saw, scattered in the distance, as one by one, sets of glowing green eyes began to appear. As they edged forward and the smoke settled, the terrifying sight was revealed. The familiar glowing green eyes were the emerald eyes of Frosty, but not just one. Multiple living, breathing, bloodthirsty replicas of Frosty, as a sea of snowmen lay before them, staring down at the town. The screams began to echo around, as people began to run the opposite direction and back indoors. Cody, pulling the bartender's arm as he cocked his shotgun. The invasion of snowmen, huh? Well, fuck me. Grab yourself a weapon, kid, the bartender said in disbelief, as the crowd scattered behind him. He aimed his shotgun up towards the snowmen. Merry fucking Christmas. Thanks for listening to this chilling Christmas original. We hope you had fun with this one, and with Frosty. We look forward to bringing you more originals in the future, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But for now, from Frosty and Horror Motives, have a chilling Christmas, and remember, fear lies within.